Hey, what's up? My name is Kristen. In today's video, I want to talk about goal setting for 2023, just because goal setting has been something I've struggled with quite a lot, and I've been doing a lot of thinking about why I struggle with it and what I can do to change that. So if that sounds like something you want to hear me chat about, please make sure you're subscribed, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I think how I want to start this off, because I don't really have a whole lot planned as far as what exactly I'm going to say, but I just want to say that anything that I have to say about specific goal setting systems is not a reflection on those goal setting systems. It's really me and the place I was at when I tried those things, or, you know, I may or may not have given them like enough of a chance, but that is exactly what I want to explore here. I've done some journaling about it. I'm going to share some of that with you. And the reason that goal setting hasn't really worked for me is just because I wasn't in the right place to do it, not because the system wasn't good. I hope that makes sense. So let's start here. This is just like my journal. It's like there's private stuff in here, but there's also just like regular stuff in here. I kind of do it sort of like a bullet journal, but not for planning. It's mostly just for like note taking, and so I don't ever share it. I also don't use it constantly. I've been trying to use it a lot more now, just because it's like the end of the year and I want to see if this is something I want to bring into the new year. Anyhow, okay, so this is where I have journaled about what I think the mistakes that I have made with goal setting, programs or systems or whatever. Let's see, I want to make sure you can see this. I'm not going to zoom in. I'm sure if you really wanted to read this word for word, you could pause it and zoom in or do whatever you need to do, but we're going to talk about it, so you don't really need to do that. This is really just to have something for you to look at while I am, talking, and it's got my notes on it, so, it's not that serious. Anyway, so these are some things that I kind of came up with that are my mistakes with goal systems. And so we can kind of go through them one by one, and it's 4 mistakes and then some things that I can do as I make goals, moving forward, that maybe can help get past those mistakes. And I don't even know if they're technically mistakes. It's more just this is why it didn't work for me. Okay? All right. So the first one here is that I don't stay grounded with my goals. And basically that means it's I will come up with goals when I sit down and I'm here's what I want to achieve for, whatever time frame. And I forget about them. So I wrote here that at first I thought I was just changing my mind about what I wanted to do, but after a while I realized that those goals were either just because, or I forgot about them. The goals that I made weren't grounded in anything. They didn't mean anything to me. Of course they did on the surface. Let's say, for example, this isn't an actual goal, but I'm just pulling something out of the air that maybe some people can relate to, but lose 10 pounds, right? So say if that was a goal, and it's yeah, of course that sounds like a great goal, let's do it. But it didn't mean anything. There was no reason why, there was no what is it gonna be how is that gonna fix my life or change my life or whatever. And to be fair, certain, most goal systems I have looked at, this is a MakseLife companion notebook. This is one that I have not used, so there's nothing in here to show you, but they say to, write down why. Why is it important? Why, how will your life change? That kind of stuff. that's not the goal system's fault, that's my fault. Like I couldn't, at the time when I was making my goals, I think I wasn't being like deep enough with them. And I was being more like impatient, where I just wanted to like have something written down so I could have it ready to go. And so I could start working on goals. But there's no point in working on goals if those goals don't really mean anything. And then you fizzle out. So like, some of the things I wrote here, that I don't have to fill in goals for a category, or I can have just one and be okay with empty space, and that I should respect seasons. So as far as categories go, MakseLife, for example, and most goal systems have categories that you can work with for setting goals. So here there are 8, and I was trying to pick like all these goals for each category. There's some categories I don't need to set goals for, or maybe I didn't at the time. I can recall from when I first started doing the MakseLife system, I didn't have a financial goal, and I didn't have like a spiritual and personal growth goal, but I made stuff up to go in there. I just was like, oh, I'll just add stuff here that's more of like the mental health stuff as part of wellness. So then I would make extra health and wellness goals and have them copy over into this goal. And then there's work and learning and financial, and I was like blurring those two and just like piling on things that I could use for each category, like, oh, make money doing XYZ and save this amount of money for that. And those weren't like things that I was necessarily like dying to do or needing to do or whatever. It was just because it was a category and I was trying to fill it up. And so those goals didn't actually mean anything to me other than just being something arbitrary that I could write down in the goal system. And like I said, that's my fault. Like that's not the system's fault for having space to do that. That was just me just being overly ambitious, I think, because I wanted to have it like filled in, and like I just wanted to work on things. The other thing that I had written here was to respect seasons. There are going to be seasons of life where I'm just not in a place to work on financial goals or work goals or health goals. And that's okay. Like, I can respect that and just leave it blank. I don't have to come up with things that fit that category if it's not the time in my life to work on those. And that just goes along with really thinking about goals. Okay, I said that I can and I should review my goals frequently. And I noted here that MakseLife has weekly actions, but it felt overwhelming. And that goes back to having too many goals because I was filling in things. So like if you go to the monthly, so this book is for a quarter of the year. And so you've got 3 months worth. And so you can write down what you want to focus on for the month. And then every week you pick actions that support those goals and put them in your weekly actions. And since I had all of these goals filled in with things that I didn't really necessarily want to do, I was carrying tasks that went with those things over to my weekly actions, and then it was just too much. So even though I was trying to reflect and review on my goals frequently, because I did it like wrong in the first place, it was just too overwhelming, and then that made me not want to do it, and then I would forget about the goals that that did make sense for that time in my life. And so I just fizzled out with it. It was just, I was overly ambitious and it was like too many goals. So that was mistake number 1, was not staying grounded with the goals that I was setting for myself. And then here I have another one, another mistake that just says like, I didn't review my goals regularly. And yes, we talked about that in the previous mistake, but I wanted to expand on it here because there are other factors involved with that. I said that I never set aside time for reviewing my goals. And I also kind of had this like mental block that I thought it was silly to schedule it in. And so I wouldn't schedule it in, but then I would forget to do it because it wasn't scheduled in. Like it was like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Whenever I would make plans for the week, because I didn't set aside time to review my goals, I would make all these other plans for the week that had to do with other things that I thought I needed to be doing, and they didn't support the goals that I had set for myself. And so I wasn't doing the work, like I wasn't doing the tasks. Some of the ways I can overcome that is to schedule in check-in time. I noted that the Kanban system that I've been using was like a really good way to help me make that less overwhelming, because it's just like on my office wall. Well, it's a door. It's in my office. I see it every single day, and I can just glance at it and just kind of see visually things that I have said I wanted to be working on. And it's not like this big booklet of things. It's not like a big thing. I don't know if that makes sense. It's like having it all like in this big, massive like system that I like spent all this money on. It was like too much pressure, I think. And so seeing it on the Kanban was like a great way to just like be okay with taking time to do that, because I knew it wasn't going to be overwhelming. So I should schedule in time to like look at my Kanban, look at any notes I have made wherever I end up setting my goals. I can look at those things just and not make a big deal about it. The other thing I can do is actually reference my calendars when choosing a goal to focus on. And some seasons are more busy than others, and I can't expect to do like big things if there's a lot going on. So let's take November next month, for example. I will be traveling, and then I will also have family in town to celebrate Thanksgiving. There's going to be a good like 2 or 3 weeks where I am just going to be doing other things, right? And so there's certain goals that I have that I'm not going to be able to focus a whole lot on during that time period. And so I actually, for November, need to not put a bunch of things on my list of, goals, or move them into my little monthly working on section on my Kanban, knowing that I'm not even going to be home. And when I am home, I'm going to be preoccupied with family. And so I can't just say, okay, well, I'm going to spend the whole day filming YouTube videos and taking photos. Like, I can't do that if my house is full of people and I'm spending time with them. I just can't do 2 things at once. So that's something that I know probably sounds so like obvious, probably to most people, especially if you're a planner person and you're looking at calendars all the time. There was just like a disconnect there for me. The next thing I've got here is that I would get hung up on like the positivity culture that surrounds goal setting. And this is so hard because I don't want to offend anybody, and I don't want to say positivity is like a bad thing. Of course it's not. Of course positivity is, why can't I say that word? Positivity is wonderful, and it's actually really great to be surrounded by positive people. Me personally, when I'm surrounded by negative people that complain all the time or find something wrong with everything, people that are just too critical all the time and not like a more balanced approach, I absorb that negative energy, and it really weighs me down, and it makes me start feeling negative about things. It makes my personality kind of changes. And so I try really hard to stay away from that kind of atmosphere. However, the opposite is also true. The other extreme, where it's just like everything is positive and everything is rainbows, that is just too much for me as well. And it's like, I can see right through it immediately. And even if you are the most genuine person in the whole wide world, if everything is always like rainbows and butterflies, I just think it's fake. Even if it's not, and I can't get past that because it's just too like cheerleader rah-rah. I don't know. It immediately shuts me into like, this feels forced, this feels fake. It feels like you feel like you have to be super positive all the time or people are going to get discouraged. And I know that sounds, I just got done saying that, being too negative is a no-go for me. Well, so is being too positive. I don't know what the happy medium is. I just know how it feels to me and how I react to it. And yes, there's all kinds of, self-reflection going on with that. This isn't like I don't know. It's not like a treatise on being positive and negative. It's just, that's what is affecting my ability to want to be involved in like goal setting culture. So what else did I say here? I said, it feels so forced and fake. I get why positivity culture is a thing, but I can't move past it mentally. I wrote here, people are genuinely nice and kind and want to see others succeed. So this isn't a dig at those people. It's really not. Like I said before, this is me. This is me and how I react to things. And that's really all I have control over. So that's why I am reflecting on it right now. I said, sometimes you cannot achieve a goal just because you want to. I don't think that there's anything wrong with having a positive outlook at like your potential and everything, but the culture around goal setting in general just feels a bit woo-woo. To borrow a term, someone recently, in a comment on a recent video, somebody had said that a certain program just felt a bit too woo-woo, and I get that. Like, I totally get where that person's coming from, and it's just that whole woo-woo feeling, that's why I had like that mental block about scheduling in time to work on the goals. It's because it just felt so like, put me time on your calendar. Like, no, that's how I think in my head. But then like this proved me wrong, that I am not scheduling time to do certain things. And so I forget about it. So like I said, it's a mental block for me. It's hard for me to to just like get over myself and write something in my planner or like do the things, because I can't get past the whole like cheerleader rah-rah thing. I don't know. My solution for this, or something that might be helpful to like get past this, is that I can allow myself to feel hopeful and excited about things to come without denying that there's like nuance and gray areas about what success means. So that's really hard. I think when I wrote this, I was being like really deep into my feelings about things. And so it's hard for me to articulate, but there is nuance between like positive and negative. Like, it's not all positive or all negative. Like, there's intertwined, everything's complicated. There's gray areas, And so sometimes it feels like when you write down a goal, you either achieve it or you don't. Like, that's how I feel. That's what I get out of goal setting systems. And so that's something that I need to think a little more on and understand that sometimes success is making progress. Sometimes success is that you're taking the journey and not actually like crossing something off your list. And that's what I can be like hopeful and positive about without feeling like, I don't know, like, without feeling like there's this like whole, you can do it, you can do that thing. Like, or I could just be happy with working on it, even if I don't do that thing. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. It's hard for me to articulate, and I'm sorry if none of that made sense. And my last thing here, after getting hung up on positivity, is that I was too, and I spelt that wrong, I was too rigid about the system's rules. So there's all these like goal setting systems have like a framework or like foundational things to help you work through them. And so that's what I'm referring to as like the rules. I'm not necessarily saying that those systems say these are the rules and you have to stick with them. It's just the way my brain works is if there's a list of things that you're supposed to do to get through the system, then I have to do those things, like, or I'm not doing it right. So for example, this quarterly assessment situation, I wrote here that the rules, I'm specifically referring to life scores and habit tracking. And like, if you're not familiar, like this is the one MakseLife uses. I brought this over mostly just because it matched the book, you know, and it's, you know, aesthetic. But Clever Fox also has like goals and life areas. And so does Cultivate What Matters. So does, like every goal setting system, I don't even know, I'm not gonna fumble through this, but there's like a assessment, right? And you give yourself like a score. And it says, like this one says, rate your satisfaction in each of the life areas from 1 to 10. And 1 is the lowest and 10 is the highest. And so you give yourself a score. You like refer to the last time you did it and see how things have changed, and you reflect on that. Why not? What can you do to change? Do you need to change? That kind of thing. That means literally nothing to me, and I don't know why. Like, I just don't care. I don't care about scores. I don't care about like things being better or worse. And that also, to me, has like a negative connotation to it. Like, it makes me feel bad to say everything's at 1. But on certain days, everything feels like it's at 1, you know? Certain days, everything feels like it's at 10. I can't like take a whole quarter and say, you know, well, I didn't die, so everything's at 10, right? I don't, like, there's no, I don't know, like, there's no, there's a very, very big disconnect for me with this. And so since I didn't want to do this, I felt like I didn't, like, this is supposed to be, I think, what gives you direction towards what you should maybe work on next quarter, or what you could work on next quarter. And, that's what is hard for me, especially when I'm thinking about what season of life I'm in. Like, if something's at a 0, that's the thing I need to work on, because I don't need to work on the things that are at a 10. I'm good with those, right? Like I said, this is just my thought process. This isn't like right or wrong. But maybe in that season of life, I literally cannot work on work, you know? Like, I just can't. I need to be at home focusing on my son or whatever the thing is. And so, like, I literally can't work on that, but it's at a 1. I have to work on it. And then it just gives me anxiety. And that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. This does not help me. I feel like this hinders me. And it's a huge part of the system. And so if I don't want to do this, then I'm not doing the system right. And then I get all in my head about that. And then habit tracking is another thing. If you've been around my channel long enough, you know that I just don't habit track. It literally means nothing to me. I don't get any satisfaction out of it. I don't get any direction out of it. It doesn't mean anything to me. I don't go back and look at it and say, oh, this happened because I didn't do these things and I have proof here that I didn't do them. I don't know. I just don't get it. I think the point of it is to keep you wanting to do the habit each day so that you can check it off. But because I don't get satisfaction from that, I don't use it. I just don't. And that's okay. I don't know. But those are 2 big parts of a lot of goal setting systems. And I can choose to only use the parts of the systems that work for me and make sense for me. That's just how it's going to have to be. Like, if it's just, I can't. I've tried. I've tried and tried. And it's not like I haven't given that kind of stuff a chance. I have, and I just know it's not for me. I put here that I can decide what success looks like and how to measure it or not measure it. And scores have too much weight with winning and losing. And me personally, I am way too much of a all or nothing kind of person. And so if I'm not doing everything the way I'm supposed to, then I can't do anything. And that's a me thing again, like I'm saying, like that's me needing to like reflect and kind of like get over myself and do the things. But that's what this is about. That's what I'm not saying all these things because they're problems. That's why I'm not saying that that's why I can't do goal setting. What I'm saying is I'm identifying the things that have made it a struggle for me to stick to goal setting and goal achieving and working on goals and all that stuff. I'm identifying those things so that I can start to move past them. And so that's just kind of where I'm at here. I have been looking at goal systems. I still have a lot of my MakseLife stuff. I have a undated quarterly daily planner, which has all this stuff in it. And then I still have 3 of these books. Plus, MakseLife has the like annual goal setting like worksheets that come with the system. They have those as principles on their website. And so like those are things, if I decide to go back to MakseLife, I still have all the stuff for that. There's a lot of planners that I've gotten for review purposes. This is a Clever Fox. This is also undated, so I can go into this if I want to use their goal setting system. There's some in the, I forget the name of that one. So there's also the plan by Lauren Truslow that has like the me plan in it. There's a lot of goal setting things. Cultivate What Matters just recently launched their power sheets, which I've actually been really interested in trying power sheets again. I had tried them a long time ago, 2015, 2016, I don't know. It was I don't know when it was. I know it was definitely before 2017 for sure. Just because I have like different things in my mind about where, like what I was doing in my life in those years. And I know it was before that. And I really want to say that it was one that like you could put in your own binder, like a 3-ring, like letter size binder. I feel like that was it. Anyway, whatever it was, I crashed and burned with that. Never did anything with it. But I've been looking at the power sheets. Well, I've been watching other people use power sheets on social media.
I lost this footage, but I wanted to finish my thought. I just think that the power sheets is probably a little too robust for me to be using at this point in my goal setting journey, so I'm just not going to be using it.
So I know that I am going to keep using my Kanban system to help me stay on top of tasks related to goals. I have tweaked it a little bit. That's something I'll talk about in an upcoming video. And I'm happy knowing that I have the issues that I have with why certain goal setting systems haven't worked for me. And so I know now how to find one that might work better or kind of figure it out on my own. I mean, you don't need a goal setting system to set goals. You just don't. And that might be what I do for 2023. I might just use a notebook, and I'm okay with that. Notebook, Kanban board, my planner if I need to schedule something. I think that right now that looks like the most logical thing, unless I discover something in the next like month or 2 that makes more sense to me. I think I'm going to be just kind of winging it and doing my own thing. I'm still going to share it all with you here on YouTube because I really like it. I like that it's like a good check-in for me, and I think it's helpful. So Yeah, I know this was kind of a bit of a different video. I knew there was a lot I wanted to say about this, and that in future videos that I make about goal setting, this kind of stuff might come up. So I just wanted to make sure I had a place to refer anyone to, so that I don't have to go over it each and every time. Anyway, that's it for me. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you really liked it, or if you're really interested in seeing my progress here, please consider subscribing. I do have other videos similar to this on my channel where I talk about goal setting. I also do a lot of plan with me's and planner review type videos. So if that sounds interesting to you, please consider subscribing, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.